Welcome to Super Simple Security Principles, where you learn how to think, not just what to do. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Nick Jackson, here to learn with you, alongside from my Master Guardian buddy, Makani Mason. So he likes to teach us. We love it. This is episode 93, how to pick the right service. In case they don't know, we're talking email service, correct?
Well, I labeled it that way specifically. That is what we will be talking about. But what I realized was this is one of those cases, as we've had so many times, where I was thinking about that, and one of the principles is more generally applicable. And
Okay.
so we're going to talk about, even though I know we're kind of in this email train right now, and so this one will be about email, but it's more like it's really any digital or technology service.
Okay.
Will be applied to email provider, and then next episode we'll get back focused specifically on email provider.
Okay.
So yes and no.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. That's
Yeah.
a good Makani answer. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
So kind of part one of
Awesome.
two. Right.
Part 1 of 2. Yep. Sounds fair.
Yeah.
So where do we start, bud? Where are we wanting to start today?
Well, so here's the overview. Just here's the principle.
Okay.
Do one thing well.
All right.
Right? Now, how that applies here is we want to find the business that does one thing well.
There's
right?
the caveat.
And specifically, obviously, the thing you're looking for.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, again, this is one of those things like a lot of principles where you hear it and you're like, well, that sounds simple, duh, right? Like
Yeah.
obvious, right? But it's I think especially in this world is very underutilized and often goes because one of the other things I hear in this world is they like to have ones that provide everything,
Mm-hmm.
which is counter. I mean, this is exactly opposite of what I'm talking about, right? So
Exactly.
Google, it provides everything under the sun. You've got Norton that provides a VPN and a password manager and everything under the sun.
Yeah.
And that sounds really nice and convenient, but my experience is that's usually a bad idea. Those are usually
Right.
not the best options.
Yeah.
And so even though in some ways it might seem obvious, in fact, I think it's just not, it's overlooked a lot. And of course, it's not a hard and fast rule. There are exceptions.
Yeah.
But it's a really good place to start. And this is something we'll be coming back to a lot, diving more into why and the impacts of the single focus versus spread focus and things like that. But for today, I want to focus kind of on Google mostly.
That sounds great.
And how that applies to email. So if we were to ask a Google lover, which I know neither of you, you are not, and neither am I. I mean, they did good things, and I was in the early days, and I'm very grateful for how they've done. So I don't want to bag on Google overly much. It's not like I have it out for them worse than pretty much any big tech company, right? But
Right.
if we were going to ask a Google lover legitimately, because we can do that at least somewhat objectively, like what does Google do well?
Right.
Like what do we think? What would they answer, Nick? What do you think?
You know, everybody, I've used some search engines,
Yeah.
you know, and I feel like they do a pretty good job of that. I feel
Yeah.
like they really laid some good foundations to make the search engines easy. And so, yeah, you know.
Yeah. Well, and that's where they started. That's where they excelled. That's where they really did awesome work. There's a lot of
Yeah.
complaints in recent years of the downhill slide of the quality of Google search, but that's a different story,
Right.
right?
Right.
And
Exactly.
some might answer email, I think, because Gmail obviously is very big. Most people know, like, I mean, it is by far the biggest email provider.
Yeah.
And so some might answer email. I think absolutely some would answer search. I don't know if there would be any other answers, but
Yeah.
I think one of my answers, the thing I think they do really well, even not being a Google lover, I think they do really well though, is making money by ads.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really an advertisement machine, right? Like that's what their
Hmm.
business is all about these days.
Oh
That's
yeah.
and I mean, as much as I hate advertisements, I also recognize the reality that's how our internet grew in a lot of ways. Was driven That's how we were able to do so much for free. So I acknowledge that reality, and even though I feel like in some of the ways that the internet has developed and where we are now, there's problems and whatever, I'm not blind to how things came along, and I'm not like, oh, they're evil for doing all this. It's just where we are, and what we're looking for is we're trying to find what is the best email provider. Okay?
Right.
Google's mission is not to make the best email service. I don't
Right.
think there are many people who would really argue with that. Maybe they would, I don't know. But I think that's kind of my stance is so now, of course, just because it's not their only focus doesn't guarantee that they're not the best email provider, right?
Right. Right.
But in a way, because they're so big, I would certainly want them to be the best, right?
Right.
Like the correlation to be, right? If they're the biggest, that means that's because they're the best. And so the most people have flocked to it. I think the reality is far from that, unfortunately. But
Right.
I've been, because I still remember, like I was early Gmail user, and I was excited back then. I loved Google and Gmail back then.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember being excited how, to be one of its earliest users. And like one of the things in the early days was they had this quota, like how much space you had,
Mm-hmm.
and it would tick up. You could sit there and watch it. Would just they slowly increased it, so the oldest users would slowly get more and more and more.
Oh, really?
Yeah, yeah. Now it's just a standard amount, whatever new accounts gets or whatever. But back in the day, they were slowly building. It was cool to watch, and anyway, stuff like that. But anyway, the my love for Gmail is long gone, even though
Yeah.
still grateful for it in some ways. But I think the main thing that kind of hurts to me about Google and email. We've talked a lot about the flaws in the email system.
Yeah.
Google is so big. I feel like if I were Google, if I were in charge of Google, they have the power to make my dream of replacing the email system.
A,
They
a
have
reality.
the power, yeah, to make it make it a reality, make that come true. But they don't.
Right.
Like Gmail itself hasn't even really improved that much, honestly, since I first started using it ages ago. There's little bits, but nothing profound.
Yeah.
And the same, and this is not true. I mean, I picked on Google. I started with them because that's what I started with, and they're the biggest. But the same is true with Microsoft. The same is true with Apple. All of them are huge. All of them could do what I'm talking about with the email system.
Yeah.
But they don't care. That's not what their business is about. Apple's not about email. Microsoft's not about email. Google's not about email.
Right.
And so to me, that just kind of underscores what I'm trying to talk about here with the principle is email's not their business.
Yeah.
So it's just, and the fact that they're not the best, in my opinion, I think it's not a coincidence.
Right. Right.
You can't prove causation necessarily, but I think it's more than accidental that that's the case, and that, for example, Fastmail, which, I mean, the name itself gives you the clue. Email is all they do.
Right. 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 Well, I mean, ask yourself, what's their priority, right? To shed a little light, like my son like years ago, he was
Yeah.
couldn't have been more than 10 years old, tells me, Dad, I want to be great at one thing. Not good, but great, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he made one thing his focus to become great. And he did that. He absolutely excels at that thing. And that would be the question I would ask myself is, what's their emphasis? What are they really trying to be great at? Are they trying to be a great email provider? Or are they trying to be a great advertiser, in Google's case?
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Every business has its focus,
Exactly.
but that's what I would kind of say is like, let's start honing in on what that company's focusing on.
Yep. Yeah. That's exactly right. Yep. And I will add too, as much as I complain about Google and them not improving the email system, Fastmail on the other hand, they've contributed a thing called JMAP, and I won't get into it because it's a technical specification, but it's a contribution, it's an improvement to the email architecture and system that we have. Now, it's not the dramatic, complete revolution that I want,
Right.
but on the scope, they're smaller. The scope that they have tried to improve it, right?
Yeah.
Even though they don't get any necessarily like direct benefit from improving the system exactly, but it's just part of their mission. It's part of their identity is they want to improve email. They want to have the best email system possible.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just kind of a natural outgrowth of that. That's what they want to specialize in. And so that's part of what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, and I'll add this. I'll give my takeaway first, and then you can wrap up if you have anything else you want to say, Nick. Because there's a lot more. I mean, this is one of my passion topics in a way, if it's not obvious, right? It's not the end all be all I know answer to everything, but I'll say this: most of my favorite software and services have a single obvious focus.
Yeah.
And especially my security tools. I have Fastmail, 1Password, Little Snitch, even the VPNs mostly that I use. SyncThing is another one. Signal is another one. All of these very very obvious single focus of what they're trying to do. And that's, most on my list. So I think to me that's pretty telling that it's not an accident.
Right.
That if you're looking for the best, and that's not the only, that's with particular criteria and everything. There's convenience and there's other factors, but for me, that's a strong place to start, and definitely very much in line with my priorities.
Right. And what I would basically add is we live in a world where there's so many options available. Find who is providing a good service because they're doing something great. Find somebody that's excelling in what they're doing. Kudos to Fastmail. Well done. Way to try and make improvements. Outstanding. Again, like some of these other tools that we use, I love. And so how to pick the right service? Don't walk in to an all-you-can-eat buffet and just get water. Like, go find exactly what you want. Make sure it's exactly what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah, so, I like it.
Yeah, I love it. Good episode, man. Pick those that are great.
Are you ready to take action and wondering where to start? Get my Bulletproof My Identity Starter Kit for free. The 7 most vital layers of protection everyone needs. I'll send you one step at a time and help you if you get stuck. Just go to bulletproofmyid.com and enter your name and email, and I will send you the first step. Again, that's bulletproofmyid.com.